Now, I've said this once and I'll say it again, but when you take a very close look at the Ironheart series when it comes down to the trailer disaster that it is, it really does actually rhyme with the Acolyte series. When you look at the acting, when you look at the producing, the directing, the overall, chemistry makeup of the series just looks so beyond cringe that Disney created. Now, one thing is for sure is that yes, we do know that Marvel Studios and Disney as a whole right now, they are in pure panic mode over the show after it was sitting on the shelf for 2.5, close to 3 years at this point when you really put all the time together. And the fact that they had to put this out there, and I'm sure they're regretting it at this point, it's really beginning to backfire on Bob Iger, the Disney executives, the board of directors, etc., etc. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, the reason why I said I'm betting that they are regretting anything to do about this series is the fact of what's going on right now with the financial aspects of Ironheart behind the scenes and what's going on over there. Now, we already know that this is a very near similar situation to what happened with the Acolyte and even Snow White, alright? But more so the Acolyte, because this is really ringing a lot of bells to what happened over at Star Wars / Lucasfilm with that series back in June of 2024. And it's quite ironic, right? When you look at the Acolyte that also landed in June, this series is also landing in June, and, the fact that you're actually having 3 episodes air on the very first date just goes to show you that Disney wants to get past this as fast as possible. The following 3, though, after that, since it's a 6-episode series, they're going to release that weekly. That's the overall plan right now. What's interesting here, however, has a lot more to do with what's going on. Now, with the Ironheart series already a total disaster for the Disney company, and Bob Iger as he tried to rebuild his legacy before stepping down in 2026, one significant development going on now involves more to do with the Ironheart financial collapse going on over at Marvel Studios and how Disney is doing everything that they can to actually go into serious damage control internally. Now, a crucial update to this entire situation now involves how the Disney company and Marvel Studios decided to make an agreement to cut back a whopping 40% from their marketing funds. Already, Disney's marketing funds are between, get this, $20 and $25 million for Ironheart, and both Bob Iger and the board recently made a full-fledged agreement to suddenly cut back on marketing funds by, of course, in hopes of hiding the series as much as possible up until the release in late June. However, to make matters even worse for Ironheart is that the series budget landed around, get this, honestly, this is ridiculous, between $120 and $130 million when all was said and done for filming and even reshoots that took place altogether. Now, Disney recently scrubbed what they viewed would be some of the most controversial scenes in the show for episodes 4 and 6. The cutbacks of those scenes that Disney scrubbed led to an estimated $20 million worth of lost footage that went to no use and will never see the light of day and will be locked up in a vault. One scene in particular, this is a very interesting one, that was deleted was a scene that featured Riri Williams delivering her pronouns over a video chat with Alden Ehrenreich's character. Now, you guys may recall with the Acolyte series, they also used pronouns where you had the character May, I believe it was, or Osha, one of those two. I believe it was actually Osha, where she goes, who is they or them or something like that. They wanted to do something very similar with Riri Williams in, of course, for the overall series Ironheart. Now, to make matters worse for the Ironheart financial aspects is that Disney is already cutting back drastically on their merchandise that was already actually produced for Ironheart. Where it stands right now is that they spent well over $50 million already on Ironheart merchandise. Tracking shows that there is little to no demand for these figurines, statues, clothing, home decor, and other Ironheart merchandise, some of which was very expensive to create, that will likely never be sold. It was Disney's idea overall to invest $50 million worth into Ironheart merchandise, both for retail stores and for the Disney parks. Already, Disney is cutting back specifically by 80% of Ironheart merchandise to be featured at Disney World in Orlando. Again, let me just say one thing about Bob Iger. This is why he really does not deserve to be the Disney CEO. Who in their right mind would invest $50 million worth of merchandise just for the first phase for Ironheart? Nobody's going to want to buy any of that garbage out there. We know that the same exact thing happened with the Acolyte series, you guys may recall. when they actually invested $80 million worth of merchandise, and that went absolutely nowhere. You know how many figures they created, how many lightsaber hilts they created, and all these other merchandise aspects that they wanted to throw into the theme parks, to stores, to online stores, and practically none of it sold, and much of it was cancelled. And that just goes to show you that this is literally a mirror image of the Acolyte show back in June of 2024. Almost everything is happening in the same or similar pattern. Now, Bob Iger is already, get this as well, looking into other strategies to salvage the show by informing the editors to cut back on more controversial scenes to not make their agenda way too obvious. This was also an order by the board of directors to Bob Iger, blaming him that their agenda was too extreme, as they wanted to make it less obvious to the audience and to make their agenda more subtle. Now, more footage is set to be deleted as a result before its release in late June, which will shorten episodes 4 and 6 drastically, which are set to feature some of the most cringeworthy characters yet in the Marvel Universe that will appear as a surprise. Screeners that took part in a test screening for Ironheart already labeled this as the worst creation by Marvel Studios ever, and it already is tracking to be just as bad as The Acolyte and will be a Marvel version of that, based on the lackluster acting and story that was created. Now look, it's quite embarrassing that Alden Ehrenreich, the guy who played young Han Solo, is involved in this thing to begin with. Now look, I wasn't really a big fan of the Han Solo movie, I just thought it was okay. It was like a whatever movie to me, you know, it's just okay. It's nothing, you know, to be highly excited about, but Alden Ehrenreich going from Han Solo to a very minor side character in Ironheart, you know, to fulfill his contract with, you know, Disney in general and other, you know, things out there that had to be settled, it goes to show you that this series really has nothing going for it. When you look at the character Riri Williams, a character that was created just back in 2016 under Disney, nobody asked for this. I think if anything, people would have rather to have seen something around the lines of maybe, I don't know, Iron Man / Tony Stark's daughter, you know, taking the mantle of, you know, the Iron Man character and kind of doing something with that. That would have been, I think, way more promising and would have been greatly delivered if they did that. Instead of basing this on a comic that was cancelled prematurely, mind you, it really just did not work well back in 2016. But I digress. Again, the fact that we have characters like Riri Williams and this portrayal of Ironheart in a show like this, something that really has zero demand at this point, this goes to show that this could very well look to be actually tracked to become worse than the Acolyte series. Alright, when you're looking at everything all together between the investments that's backfiring on Disney right now, to the feedback, to the ratios for the trailers across the board, across all forms of social media, it is not looking good for Bob Iger, I gotta say right now. This could very well be a major blow for his overall track record, even though he doesn't have a good track record. It's really going to backfire for sure. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.